I made up a field day quiz, not to give you something to get a high score or high grade, but because that's a format that I used as a faculty member for X number of years. And it's a way to get the information organized and we hope presented, but not to challenge your intellect. Okay, let's start out with some background information. And I did a lot of research, especially on the ARRL website, and I did not know this information. The first ARRL field day was in which decade? 1920s, 30s, 40s, or 50s. And I think the ARRL was started in 1914. That was the American Radio Relay League. And they didn't have their field day as one of the starting events. But they did in 1933. So this goes way back. And so we're almost to, 90 years? Not quite. In the June 1933 QST, it was announced a field day to be held the second Saturday in June, starting at 4 p.m. local time for 27 hours. And I think the 27-hour limit still exists for those who set up just the day of. If you set up early, you don't get 27 hours. It's not the second Saturday in June, and it doesn't start at 4 p.m. local time. From the start, the stated object of field day was to test all amateur stations, DX stations, fixed stations, or portable stations. And this one is portable stations. And one of the early leaders of the ARRL, Mr. Handy, W1BDI, in the 1933 announcement said the real object of this contest is to test portables wherever they may be. And later on, it was reported the winner in terms of QSOs and score, W4PAW, with 62 QSOs. And now the winners have thousands of QSOs. And we typically get hundreds. But it's significant. They introduced the concept of sections, 28 sections. And we'll see sections later on. The current objective statement in the ARRL website, the object of field day is to work as many stations as possible in the 160, 80, 40, 20, 15, and 10 meter HF bands, as well as all bands, 50 megahertz and above. And in doing so, to learn to operate in abnormal situations in less than optimal conditions. A premium is placed on developing skills to meet the challenges of emergency preparedness, as well as to acquaint the general public with the capabilities of amateur radio. And my editorial comment was, that's too long. Here's what's important in that statement. Work as many stations as possible. Learn to operate in abnormal situations and conditions, and acquaint the general public with the capabilities of amateur radio. Another objective statement, which may be a bit informal.
That part was carved like the highlight so that people couldn't get
hams like to think of it as an open house
because people
where non-hams can learn about amateur radio. And just about right, field day is a picnic, a camp out, practice for emergencies, an informal contest, and most of all, fun. Now, I asked my brother, who is W7NG, if he had any photographs of some of the field days he's participated in. And he said Yes, I went all the way back to 1961. That was still within 30 years after the first field day. And here's one. And the lower part of the picture doesn't show in my screen, but it was from 1961 in Ohio. And the transmitter is there under the speaker, which looks to be an old PA speaker. I think it's a Hallicrafter's receiver. Transmitter is a Heathkit. And you'll notice in the first couple of pictures, no computer. Okay, the first field day I participated in on a visit out to Don's place was on Maury Island with WWDXC, that's the Western Washington DX Club. And Seattle is the Microsoft and Amazon area, lots of techie people. And look at the number of verticals. One of their members, Rush Drake, he didn't operate much. He liked to build and test out antennas. And he had several sets of phased verticals. And Don said the fellow on the tailgate with a cup of coffee beside him and eating a donut or something, he said, that's me. And I never did have that much hair. But he pointed out that's an ISU, no, it's an OSU sweatshirt. And apparently, yep, that was me. Another field day from 1993, again with the Western Washington Club on Whidbey Island, again off the coast of Seattle. And these fellows are tuning up. The rigs now are transceivers, much smaller, but still look, no computer. Back to the quiz. In addition to US stations, amateurs from what countries may submit field day logs for awards? Now, awards from the ARRL typically would be certificates or plaques for very high scores. Canada, yeah, I think they're neighbor. Mexico, they're another neighbor. Some international amateur union countries, we'll come back to that, or all countries. Canada, yes. Mexico, yes. Some international amateur radio union countries, but not all countries. Take a look at the statement from the rules. Open to all amateurs in ARRL or RAC, that's Radio Amateurs of Canada, field organizations, and within IARU Region 2. I knew there are IARU regions. I had no idea what number we are in. The Western Hemisphere is Region 2. I don't know how they break up Antarctica. It's really not a factor. But the rest of the world can participate. Let's see. Our logs, W0YL, will earn points for contacts with amateurs from what countries? US, of course, Canada, Mexico. We already know some international radio union countries in Region 2 can submit logs, but all countries may be contacted for credit and may submit their entries as check logs. They could send their logs to the ARRL, which can use them to cross-check with logs from stations in Region 2 to make sure that there is a high level of accuracy. Valid field day contact exchange must include, these are true or false each, a signal report, state, class, number of transmitters, or power level. Now, all of these items have appeared in some contests throughout the year, but we're talking just about field day. So valid field day contact, signal report, no. A state, no. That's a little tricky. Class, true. Number of transmitters, true. It's part of the class. Power level, false, but. Okay, The exchange, according to the rules, field day operating, your field day operating class and your ARRL or RAC section, or if you're outside Canada and the US, you would submit or say DX. Now, here are the sections. And notice that we are in Iowa, so our section is IA or Iowa. And most of the sections have something to do with including the state name. Class indicates a station's, true or false again, location, number of transmitters, power source or power level, power source, or section. Location, false, because class is not the section. The section is separate from class. Number of transmitters, true, that's the first part of class. Class is a number and a designator. Power level, false, but, and there are a couple of variations on the class, and we'll see that on the designator, as we'll see in the next slide. Power source, true for emergency power or commercial power. And the section, no, I just said that section is separate from class. Let's see, according to the rules, field day entries are classified by maximum number of transmitters, and they expand on that, that is can be operated at one time, and a designator of individual or group participation. Designators, letters A through F. That's really all you have to know. But A is a club or a non-club with 3 or more people operating portable under emergency power. A variation is the same size group operating with battery power, and they assume that batteries are being charged by could be generator or wind or solar, and they list that as variation AB. Class B, same thing, only 1 or 2 people operating portable. And that variation would be BB to be consistent with Class A. Now, I didn't find BB listed, but I assume it's there. If you enter on the log A or B, when somebody sends you that, you're okay. C, for mobile stations, that's easy to remember. C stands for car. D, home stations under commercial power. E, home stations under emergency power, whether that's battery or generator. Then F is the emergency station center, operations center. Could be Red Cross, Civil Defense, whatever the county organization is. And in each of the past 2 years, which field day class had the greatest number of entries? And think back, the past 2 years, those were the COVID years. So that would be D. As reported in CQ magazine, a record 6,300 hams chose to enter as Class D in 2020, more than 60% of the total entries. And as you'll recall, we didn't have a live field day 2 years ago. Last year, the number of Ds declined, but the magazine reported it remained by far the most popular entry category. Now, remember that CQ is a competitor with QST, the ARRL magazine. So CQ took a dig at them, said that home to home or D to D contacts, which was valid during the COVID years and still is, did not support ARRL's objective to learn to operate in abnormal situations in less than optimal conditions. And true, it didn't, but it sure generated a lot of participation. Which field day classes are permitted to run 1500 watts peak envelope power? And the same letters A through E. And let's see, A false, B false, C false, D false, E false. All field day stations, and that's effective this year, are limited to a maximum of 100 watts peak envelope power. Now, some of the home stations that you might enter or you might contact may have 1500 watts, but they can't submit a log because that's not in keeping with the field day rules. Okay, here's a sample contact script, and Jason has consented to play the role of W0YL, and he's been in the club many years, so he's used to operating as W0YL. And I will be K8IBP. My original call in Ohio decades ago was KN8IBP. And I would like somebody, or as many as can, time this contact, and you'll see they're pretty short. And Jason, are you with us?
Yep, I'm here, Skip.
Okay, and if you'll say go, then the timers can start, and I'll start, and I won't be in a hurry.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
CQ Field Day, CQ Field Day, Kilowatt 8, India, Bravo Papa, Mobile 6, calling CQ Field Day.
Whiskey 0, Yankee Lima.
W0YL, 1 Charlie, Orange.
QSL, we're 2 Alpha in Iowa, India Alpha.
QSL, QRZ Field Day, K8IBP, Mobile 6. We're done. Okay, somebody turn on your mic and tell us how many seconds that was.
That was right at 30 seconds, and you get bonus points for not including please copy in there anywhere. You don't need please copy.
Okay, and I've seen that in several letters to the editor and from the contest people. And let's take another look at the script. There are some alternatives shown. The first one from W0YL gives the phonetics, and then it says or W0YL, and either would be correct. The phonetics is probably good for clarity, and I would stick to the standard phonetics, although for field day, it's a little more relaxed, and sometimes I will throw in W0 young lady. And YL has stood for young lady in amateur radio for a long, long time. Just like OM stands for old man, no matter how old the male operator happens to be. And down there, my response, W01 Charlie Orange. I could have said W0YL, 1C ORG. Those would be correct, but for clarity, use phonetics. And W0YL can say, 2 Alpha Iowa, 2 Alpha India Alpha, or 2A IA. Those are correct. At least for first time through, I'd go with phonetics. There are some calls that are very unique, and they can get away with not using standard phonetics. One of our members, Jim Graham, W0 NFL, and he frequently uses W0 National Football League, and nobody has ever challenged him. And he has a lot of fun with that. And I think that's a great call. Okay, back to the quiz. In line 1 of the sample contact, K8 IBP CQ was directed to whom? W0YL, who certainly answered, Iowa, US or Canada, station in region 2 or any station. Any station. CQ is a general call for a contact. What was K8 IBP's class? 1A, 1B, 1C, 2A, 2C. And if you recall from the script, it was 1C. What describes K8 IBP's surroundings? In a tent with 3 or more operators, tent with 1 or 2 operators, in a car, at home, and using commercial, or at home using battery. And he signed Mobile 6. So he was in a car. And a quick review then, go down to K8 IBP's report, 1 Charlie Orange, or ORG. And this one can get a little confusing. When K8 IBP said ORG, where was he? California, Florida, Ohio, Ontario, Oregon, and he was in California. The section was ORG, or orange. And I put Florida on the list because they have oranges. Ohio, Ontario, and Oregon all start with O. The confusion, sometimes if you're operating and you hear the letters OR, and said, did he follow that with a G? Was that Oregon, which is up there in the far left, north, or ORG, which is Orange County area of California, just way down south. Just get used to it, and also get used to Ontario has been divided into now 4. Ontario North, Ontario South, Ontario East, or GTA, what's that, the greater, and I forget, it stands for Greater Ontario, the city. Okay, here's the field day script summary. This is all you need to know to operate from W0YL. And maybe keep this in front of you, W0YL, and there's the phonetics. We are class 2 alpha. Unless we add another transmitter, then it would be 3 alpha. In our section, Iowa or India alpha. And that'll get you a lot of contacts. 13, how can you participate in Field Day 2022? Help set up and tear down. Observe operating. Make contacts. Log contacts. Host visitors. In other words, greet them. Explain. Help them make contacts. And of course, everything there would be true. Helping set up and tear down, that's vitally important. And you don't have to be a ham or even a prospective ham to do that. Observe operating. And going back to that first field day I did in 1973, all I saw was confusion and a lot of noise and sometimes some fast talking. And I was mainly an observer to try to figure out, okay, what's going on here? Make contacts. I made a few, but not many. And since then, I've made many, hundreds. Log contacts. And logging is a separate task. The operator can log and operate, or can operate. And a few years ago, Chuck and I were out at Green Hills with George, NP2N, And Chuck and I operated and Chuck logged on the computer because he can type faster than I can. We made, I think, 140 contacts in an hour and a half. I certainly couldn't have done that alone. Or host visitors. And we expect to have some visitors. And I hope that we would all have a name tag of some sort and get out there and greet even strangers, especially if they're invited office holders. Explain amateur radio to them, and do explain with kind of a lower voice and stand away from the operator because it's hard enough to hear, or help them make contacts. And I assume every station is a get on the air station for visitors. Say, hey, here's the script. Would you like to make a contact? And sure, it cuts down on the rate, but it also gets amateur radio known throughout the community. And that's the end of the quiz. I didn't keep score, and it wasn't necessary for you to keep score. We'll see you on Saturday and Sunday on the 25th and 26th for field day. And now let's turn this over to Klaus for some details about the W0YL field day.
The field day